So buttons are one of the most common problems when you're talking about clothing as far as needing repair. Losing a button and all of a sudden you can't put your pants on anymore, or your shirt is missing a button and you're going to be exposed without that button. And I had someone say to me the other day, oh, as soon as the button falls off the clothing, well, that just goes in a pile and goes out the door in the garbage. And it was really shocking to me to think, why, throw out clothing because of a button? Of course, it's so wasteful. And when you think of like this particular person is super frugal and trying to save money for her family, and yet throwing out clothing because of a button and not having the skills to sew. And the words, actually spoken word, well, I just can't sew. I've never learned. I'm thinking to myself, like, we've learned to drive cars, we've learned to do all of these things. Sewing on a button is so simple. Of course, there's a little muscle memory. Of course, maybe the threads get tangled a little bit, but a needle, a thread, a button. It's not even running a sewing machine. There's not machinery involved, nothing like that. So learning to sew on a button is something that is really a part of that sustainable lifestyle. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time today and talk about buttons, sewing on buttons, because such a needed skill for now and for the rest of your life, for you and for your kids.
Sewing is the connection between the clothing and textiles in our lives. If you have a sewing machine that you lack the confidence to use, this channel is for you. I'm Naomi Feda, and I'm here to help you learn to alter, repair, and decorate the textiles that surround you. Let's think outside the box together to find solutions for those items that aren't working.
So first, I have here today a shirt that needs different buttons. So we're going to be replacing these clear buttons with black buttons. Of course, this is not an actual sustainability tip, but it is something that people ask for. So this is for a wedding. So I had the project on hand, figured it was a perfect place to start. Now, what they want them replaced with is these little black buttons. If you notice, the buttons on here have 4 holes. So that's pretty common. You either have buttons like this, or you have buttons that have a hole in the back, just one single hole like that. First off, I'm going to go ahead and take off the existing button. There we go. And pull off all the old thread. So even if you have lost a button and you're looking to replace it, you do want to make sure that all of the thread is pulled off and removed before going ahead to start sewing on a new button. Now, maybe threading the needle is the hardest part for you. I could do sometimes lick the end to have it easier to go through the needle. As you see, this is a little bit split. Instead, I'm just going to snip off the end and then just put it through the eye of the needle. So you want a needle that's, not too fat, not too skinny. You'll eventually get a feel for it. There are such things as embroidery needles, and those are quite a bit fatter. So you wouldn't want to use those for clothing because it's going to be hard to press through the fabric. I'm just going to cut it. Now, I like to ease the thread out a little bit, the tension out, and then I form a knot at the end by just wrapping it around my finger like this and rolling it off. Everybody makes their knots a little bit differently. You don't have to learn to make a knot like that to learn how to sew, but you will need a knot at the end of your thread. And I'm just going ahead and snipping off some of those loose ends. So for starters, I'm just going to dip in from the front side like this and then pull that loop in. so that now it's nice and secure. So I put my needle through the loop at the end of my thread. And then it's very simple. The needle is just going to go into the back of the button, like so. Of course, it's, and then down through and up. And you're just going to repeat the process, a couple of times, because you do want the button to be super secure. So the shirt collar keeps folding down on me. And I am just going in and out. So that's pretty securely fastened. Now when I'm done fastening it, I am just going to dig my needle through and leave a loop like that. And then I put my needle back through and create another loop, pull that tight, and shorten that up a little bit and pull it through. Now you've also noticed for this particular project, I had that double strand of thread. So I knotted the double strand when I first started. And that's for just added stability. There you go. So that created a knot at the end of my stitch, and then I could just go ahead and snip. Now clean up these threads just a little bit more. This pair of scissors isn't the best for getting in close. Of course, you want to be careful not to snip your knot off, and then just put that button through and you have a new button on this shirt. See how cool the black button definitely looks really, really great on this shirt, but I'm going to take a minute and show you. So, of course, maybe you have a grandmother's button box in an old cookie tin. I do. But it definitely has some newer buttons in it. So, in general, you have all of these buttons where they'll either have 2 or 4 holes, like this, where this one has 2 holes. And there's different sizes of buttons. So you do want to make sure that your button is going to go through your buttonhole. And there's all kinds of really fun buttons. I mean, they have stars, and buttons can be super fun. Here's even fun shaped leaf buttons. So the general concept is the same. But I just want to go ahead and show you, maybe I'll use one of these clear buttons, what it looks like to sew a button on that doesn't have the loop in the back. So the difference is those ones that we just did that have a loop in the back, and these ones that have, the holes in the front. So again, I'm going to take the needle and ease it out. It's all threaded. So you can start from the front like I did before, where I'm digging it in. So I made a little and back up, and then I'm looping it in and through the knot area so that the knot's on top so that it's not seen from the bottom. I'm going to put the button on, and then I typically go in a cross pattern like this, where I'm going like this, and then I'm coming up and going like that across. Some people do choose to go next to each other, so they form a straight line rather than a diagonal line. Either way is fine, but you don't want to do both. So I'm going to do my diagonal. Oops. And diagonal this way. And so it's just in and out of the fabric. So simple. So that's nice and secure. Now, one thing I will note, now I pulled this one really tight, but if it's on a coat or something where the fabric is going to be relatively thick that's going to come around it, you want the button to be set a little bit higher off the fabric. And I'm going to do that for another video so I don't confuse you with this one. I really just want you to focus on learning how to put a button on. So this button's on securely. And again, I'm just going to create my finishing knot by putting my needle through there and then looping into that loop, pulling it tight, bringing that tight, and then putting my needle through for that final loop, tightening it up, and then pulling it through. And then you're all set. And that is how you sew on a button. Super simple. So I hope that helps and that you do not continue throwing away clothing just because you don't know how to sew on a button.
Thank you for watching. You can shop tutorials and classes on my website, naomifeda.net. Be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, may God sow his love into your heart today.